Okay, so I'm here with CLG Cheese. Cheese, how did you first get into speedrunning?
Um, well, I first started watching speedruns in 2012 with my brother. We both kind of found it at the same time. I was the one who first started typing in YouTube, just like retro gaming, Mario, Zelda, because that's what I grew up with, and I was like, I want to watch some old retro stuff again. Typed in Mario 64, I think. I found a task video of I think the zero star run, and then of course, like everyone else was usually like, is who the hell is Tass? And how is they so good? Like, how is it so good? I had no idea what was going on, and it was just insane. I showed my brother, and then recommended videos showed Narciso Wright's 2012 All Dungeons run. So when we watched that, of course, we were like, holy crap, because Ocarina of Time was and is like me and my brother's favorite game. So from then on, I think Narcissa mentioned Speedruns Live in her run. So of course we checked out speedrunslive.com. Ever since then was just watching speedruns. My brother actually used to speedrun in 2013 for about 4 to 5 months. Um, he stopped. He did Sunshine and a few others. He stopped. And then in 2014, I finally summed up the balls to try Mario 64 for myself after watching Punky trying to beat Siglemic, and that's when it started.
How much time does it take though to really get into like when you first started? You said you started out, not knowing anything obviously, and just watching videos. But how much time does it take till you get to a point where you're actually making like real world record attempts or actually being good at Super Mario 64?
Well, yeah, Super Mario 64 itself I could speak for, that's for sure. Um, and I guess it could relate to other games that are based off of movement optimization, which is most Mario games. Uh, Specifically, Mario 64, it took me 1 year exactly for me to break the world record. Now, it's good to note that, don't mean to boast, but I'm one of the fastest improvers of the game. Me and Liam Kings, I think, are the two fastest improvers. We both got very good quickly. Other people took a lot longer to get good or top level, I guess you could say. Everyone is different. Mario 64, though, is a game that you need to practice for hundreds and hundreds of hours for you to, especially now, even more so, probably even thousands of hours to get to a top level. And we're talking about at least a year and a half, 2 years. Um, I guess it's important to know that the way you start off too can make a huge difference. Um, so a lot of people think that, they have to watch the best players and watch the best strats because that's what it takes to be good. But obviously, when you just start a game, there's no way you can do where like a player strats. You can't do those strats. So you have to kind of understand that things take time and you have to start from scratch. So you have to trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to start from maybe basic strats, find YouTube videos. You got to go researching, it's a lot of hard work. But in general, not only Mario 64, but speedrunning in general, it you start off in speedrunning on a kind of like research. There's like a research level first. There's a lot of video watching, a lot of asking questions, and now there's Discord, which makes things so much easier. It's crazy. A lot of questions, a lot of videos, a lot of research. After that, you get a good feel of what you have to learn, what route you have to learn, and how to approach it. That's when you start the practice. And then things kind of flow along. That's what I kind of did with Mario 64.
How how long did it take you to want to go to GDQ, or was GDQ ever this big event for you that it's like, okay, that's a place to prove myself, to show my stuff? When did that sort of appear on your radar?
Um, when I first started speedrunning, which was April 2014, I had no idea that I never thought that I would be able to go to GQ, or that would be something that I could do until, well, no, I didn't think that that would have been something in my mind for a long time. But I got good really quickly. I achieved the world record in April 2015. Then I realized um, I could just submit for HTTQ 2015 and see what happens. And then, of course, it got accepted because it was a race among the top three 120 star players. So, I mean, people thought, oh, they're definitely going to accept that. So when they did, I was like, wow, okay, I guess I might be going to HTTQ 2015 only a year after starting. I didn't know that was going to happen. And after I realized that I had a good chance of going, I then started thinking about, oh, I could. Well, of course, this is a great opportunity for me, and to get my name out there, to get this game popping again. You know, like in the Cyclamic days. And well, surprisingly, it didn't really help me personally. You know, I got 200, 300 followers from my run on the first GDQ. It really didn't make so much difference at all actually going to GDQ, despite all the views that it had. I think it has to do. That's something about GDQs that's a little bit difficult. When you do a race with other people in GDQs and when you are not the one commentating, there's a giant difference with potential publicity that you can receive, as opposed to if you're doing the solo run where you're actually commentating. Because when you're doing the entertainment of the run, when you're the one commentating and all eyes are on you, there's a much higher chance of people actually gravitating towards your personality, as opposed to when you're with three players and you're not talking, you're just looking at the TV trying to play good and beat the other players. There's a lot less attention on you. But that's like that's the actual growing side of things at GDQ. But the experience after my first GDQ, at least the one thing it gave me was insane motivation. Like I was so motivated in streaming, speedrunning, everything after I went to my first GDQ, because it was the first exposure to the real world speedrunning, as opposed to just online. So that was the best part of it. Was that, not the, oh, I'm gonna do a run in front of 150,000 people thing. It was more like the motivation you get from going to an event like that, and that's why I still go too.
Have you noticed any changes in the atmosphere of Games Done Quick over the years as an event, or is it more or less, from your point of view as a speedrunner, more or less the same as it was when you first went?
Difficult question. I would say it's about 95% the same atmosphere. Um, Honestly speaking, the only difference I feel in atmosphere is because of what people talk about or what people have said about GDQ online. It's because of what people say and all the concerns that people bring up about GDQ online is the only reason why I kind of put in my head that GDQ is all different now. But it isn't. I feel the same way as I felt in the first GDQ. The only obvious difference are, and the thing is a lot of people don't understand, but me being on staff for another speedrunning organization, GSA, Global Speedrunning Association, we started 2 years ago, and I understand so much more now than I did before about running events, being part of a corporation or organization. Is that GDQ has grown, even in the past 4 years, they've grown probably twice the size. And when you get so big, when you're raising millions of dollars from events, you have to start applying more strict rules and regulations. When these charity organizations are looking at you and the whole event is being run for these charity organizations, they have to make sure that everything is running smoothly, that they have their proper precautions, because well, I guess it's how they make their living, people who run GDQ, right? And a lot of people are concerned with GDQ getting more corporate, and they don't like how everything is all corporate. But again, that ties to the whole, being looked over by charity organizations, that everything needs to be very regulated. And of course, just in sheer size of GDQ is a giant corporation now. They don't have a choice. And in 2020, where a lot of things are based off of political correctness, they kind of have to fall in line. They don't really have a choice much.
So you
That's what
think that their rulings and their, strictness is more of a reflection of, you could say, the times in general or political correctness in general, and appeasing their sponsors and the charities, rather than it is like necessarily very personal decisions.
Oh, that is 100%. I think it's maybe 10% person. I don't think it's definitely mostly, if not all, because of the sponsors and the corporative background. I don't think it's personal at all. With that said, though, simple things like uh, the use of pronouns, uh, the introduction of strictness in their chat in general, sub only chat, that kind of stuff. That was probably obviously more personal because you want to respect everybody, and I think generally I would say that 99% of the people in the world want to respect people. There's no actual people there that are just like, no, F you. I don't want to respect you. That's a ridiculous thing to think, I think. And I think people that run GDQ are well brought up enough to definitely care about those things, about those issues. So I definitely think that's personal. But the general strict ruling, of course, it has to be tied with being corporate. They don't have much of a choice.
There was an incident that occurred before AGDQ 2019 that I know you were a little bit involved with, at least from the
Yeah.
outside, involving the bans of Our White Goose and Graviton. What could you give me a sort of replay of what went down from your perspective, or what you thought about that whole situation?
Okay, so where do I start? So yes, alright goose I've known for a long time. When I found out, I guess long story is short. When I found out, which was through Andrea's tweet originally about what them showing what alright goose and Graviton said and all that stuff online. I had no idea prior to anything that alright goose had said, or even that he had a secret alias online. I think most people had no idea. Um, and I was shocked when I saw that kind of stuff, and I did feel a little bit different about Alright Goose. I lost a lot. Definitely lost a sense of respect for him.
What do you mean by secret alias? On Discord, you mean?
On Reddit, and I think he had like the alt account that he had on Reddit where he would go and talk bad about Punkation, one of my good friends in the Mara community too. So when I saw those things, I did feel a little bit different, a lot different about Alright Goose. The Graviton person, I had no idea who he was. Um, but it all started when I saw Andrea's tweet. And what really got me upset and into the whole, I guess, conversation was all the retweets and replies that I saw to Andrea's tweet, which was a lot of the trans community and a lot of the LGBT community in general that started replying and retweeting and saying stuff like mostly bad stuff about GDQ, some of it really bad stuff about the community. Look how these disgusting people or whatever, speedrunning, totally unacceptable community. GDQ is an awful organization, etc., etc. Transphobic, this and that, just all these crazy things. And the first thing I thought was, hold up. First of all, getting this situation resolved with Graviton and Alright Goose, great. Let's do that. But immediately jumping into these crazy, crazy accusations and all this stuff about the entire speedrunning community and Games Done Quick and all this stuff was like, what is the necessity in that? Why are you doing that, first of all? Second of all, I mean, kind of obvious, this is how human interactions work. The more, if you're going to go out and complain about everybody and say, oh, everyone is awful and unaccepting, then you're just going to get other people to not like you either. You're just separating the community more from you. So if you're saying that GDQ is an unaccepting environment, that's one thing. But then you throw out these awful words and talk about all other speedrunners and how awful they are, then you're just going to get people to disrespect you more. That's my opinion, right? And when I talked about that on Twitter, of course, I got a lot of tweets back and replies saying that bad stuff back to me and how I'd have no idea what I'm saying, whatever. And I thought, I'm going to make a little YouTube video, and that's when I made a YouTube video titled "My Thoughts on the Speedrun Drama," where I basically gave my general thoughts. And there was a part of that video where I taught, and part of tweets where I talked about me tweeting something about Jordan Peterson, because I used to watch Jordan Peterson videos years ago. A lot of his like psychological videos. I don't, and never cared for his political views and all his political videos. I liked his book. I liked his psychological stuff, and that's why I watched him. But regardless, when I tweeted about that, a lot of the trans community, mostly trans, I don't know why they were mostly trans, but it just happened to be. People like Proto Magical Girl, Andrea.
Likewise, by the way, I also have his book.
It's right there next to my bed. And they all replied to me saying, you are not allowed to like Jordan Peterson. Anything to do with Peterson is awful because he has no idea what he's saying. He's a neo-Nazi, whatever. All these typical like political words you hear nowadays with the neo-Nazis and Nazi apologist kind of stuff. And my argument was, because I didn't even know much about those terms, right? So my argument was, but guys, I basically said, guys, if I don't even understand properly what this whole neo-Nazism is about, and I don't even watch his videos for that reason, then why is it a problem if I watch somebody who you think is a neo-Nazi, but for totally other reasons? Why is it a problem if I don't even know? What do you really think I'm stupid enough to get brainwashed by somebody and I'm going to become a Nazi myself? They basically told me, yes, you are stupid enough to watch somebody like that, and you are going to get brainwashed. And I just thought that was ridiculous. So that turned into more and more threads, more and more arguments, and that's how I got it. That's how I got into the whole drama. But to close it off, basically, I learned a lot about the trans community and speedrunning. I talked to quite a few of them privately as well after that, and we were able to come to agreements and stuff, and everything was became fine after that. But I learned a lot about the community and LGBT community as well in speedrunning after that. And well, I would think I'm part of that too.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into all that, and then that ties into them talking about GDQ as well.
So you were referring earlier to kind of the event itself is, runs smoothly and is fine, but this sort of like the external things, maybe the things on the internet, the things online, and in this case, it sounds like a lot of that politicization came from in this case sort of the LGBTQ community being in a sense outraged over our White Goose and Graviton and these things. And I think there's also reactions, by the way, on the other side sometimes where people are thinking GDQ is being almost too tolerant or too, pro all of that. Do you think is that kind of what you're referring to when you're talking about the external pressure, the external climate? Is it the sort of extremes online?
Well, the pressure that GDQ is feeling is definitely related to political correctness, and I think a lot of what the LGBT community was complaining about, where they were feeling unaccepted and I guess a hostile environment with GDQ. So I think GDQ probably thought, we don't want that. We want everyone to feel that they're welcomed and they want to be here. So I think that's when they kind of started, and they kind of saw it in the past year or so is when they really started enforcing a lot more. I don't want to only use the word politically correct, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They added, I think this AGQ 2020, they added a pronoun section to your name. So all runners have to say what pronouns they identify as. The chat became much more moderated, etc. And I definitely think that the pressure had to do with a lot of the Twitter stuff that's been going on in the LGBT community speaking up. I do think I when it comes to like the two sides, like one side saying that they're way too tolerant now, like you said, and the other side saying that they weren't tolerant enough. I do think it's more ridiculous to say that GDQ is too tolerant, because what does that mean, too tolerant? If it that should not be a thing, because uh, showing tolerance for everyone is the only fair way to go, I think. So how can you be too tolerant? Like, what does that even mean? I think what my idea is, what I think they, I mean, what I think they mean by that is that, oh, you can't say anything in chat or else you get banned, because it's the whole like, oh, they ban people for nothing now. And it's like, well, uh, if you are if you are in GDQ chat and you don't purposely try to meme or make a joke that you know very well that can be somewhat derogatory or politically incorrect, then there's no reason to be afraid of getting banned in their chat, you know? Uh, People who do get banned, most of the time, it's for a good reason. And people know that. I know personally from being a streamer myself, I've gotten so many people that would get banned on purpose and then complain about you as a streamer, saying, look how stupid the streamer is because they banned me for saying this and that. But they very well know that they did it on purpose because they want attention or they don't like the streamer or whatever. I know personally that there's a lot of people who do not respect GDQ as an organization, so they find any excuse to complain about them. So when it comes to that, I'm definitely on the side of being more tolerant than intolerant. Because I think that's the only fair way to go. And we just have to remember, I guess an important message, we have to remember that people on the internet, a lot of people on the internet aren't particularly people to care about the betterment of other people or organizations like GDQ. So we have to keep that in mind. People like to talk crap and make a big deal out of everything. That also goes for the LGBT community. I do think that a lot of things that happened was they were making too much of a big deal out of things. But yeah, I guess that's my take.
From an outsider's perspective, and maybe this has something to do with also the fact that speedrunners do have to spend an inordinate amount of time in their rooms practicing games, online, streaming even. It seems like mental health, depression, anxiety, these kinds of things are especially prevalent within the speedrunning community. I heard there was the Setting the Record Queer panel that happened at AGDQ 2019, and
I was there for that.
all the people were talking about, hey, we all suffer from some sort of depression, some sort of anxiety. Do you think that that's a do you think that's an accurate assessment, that that's a big issue within the community?
Yeah, I think it's accurate. What I say off the bat, I think gamers in general tend to have a lot of these kinds of issues. I know speedrunners personally that have had these issues for years now. I can't really give out names or anything, but I know some people that have these issues, and no matter how much you tell them, they just never seem to really want to help themselves. And I think that's the thing about having depression or sadness issues, loneliness, um, repressive attitudes, is that you need to actually want to help yourself. First of all, second of all, one of the worst things that you could do, easily one of the worst things that you can do about when you have these issues, is sitting down all day by yourself, not leaving your bedroom, being online all day, doing nothing, that kind of stuff. It only makes that stuff worse. Because you have a lot more time to just think about all the awful things in your life when you're not busy doing anything, Um, but apart from that, when you spend a lot of time alone playing video games, that kind of stuff can enter your mind too. There's a lot of loneliness in that. Speedrunning it can be a lonely hobby, and I think that definitely has something to do with it, right? And I know as afraid. A lot of people are afraid to mention the word autism, but the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of autistic people, who have anxiety issues, who are very what's the word, introverted. There we go. Who are very introverted, who are comfortable being alone in their bedroom, And video games are a great outlet for them, and I think that has a lot to do why a lot of people make jokes about there being a lot of autistic people in the speedrunning community, because, well, there probably is, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a joke. There are reasons for that. I personally know a lot of autistic people, but guess what? I actually prefer hanging out with. I like hanging out with people that are different. I don't like people hanging out with people, me personally, that are overly extroverted, obnoxious, loud, who want to party all the time. I'm also a very introverted person that way, and I tend to identify well with those people. Um, but of course, internet people being internet people, there are a lot of people who make jokes about autism and stuff just because it's something that exists um, in speedrunning community. Um, I have a personal experience too of having a lot of I was having depression issues when I started speedrunning. For the first year and a half of speedrunning, I was still living in Trinidad, and I was not enjoying living there anymore. I could probably safely say I did not leave my house to hang out anywhere for the entire year and a half that I was speedrunning. I left my house to go and visit my grandmother and their family, and to play with my band when we had band practice. That was the only time I went out. I never left my house. I would never go out for a walk. I never left my house in Trinidad because I was depressed living there, and I think that had a lot to do with me staying home practicing Mario 64 all day. It probably had a lot to do why I got so good so fast, because I did not want to do anything else, and I just sat down and played all day. And but that made it worse. That made me feel more and more lonely, felt more lazy, and it made stuff worse. What changed my life around was when I actually decided and told my mom, I want to move to Spain, where my dad is and my uncles, because I can't do this anymore. I'm even getting emotional thinking about it because that was a tough time. But I made a decision to personally do something about it. Um, I moved to Spain, started a lot in my life very differently, and now I am by far the most happy I've ever been. I wake up every day with something to do outside, or just something to do in general, somebody to talk to, and I've never been this happy. But it was all because I made the decisions to do everything. So the reason why, I guess the whole reason why I'm bringing this up is just, I guess, if there's any advice I can give, is that you have to do things for yourself. So yeah, the only way to feel better about any of this is by actually making the decision to do things for yourself and to get out there and do things for yourself, because no one wants to help you if you don't help yourself, I guess. Um, and then I guess that's what I have to say about it. And yes, I do think, of course, that these kinds of issues are prominent in speedrunning community, but not only speedrunning, I think in gaming in general, and also a lot of other hobbies
Um,
potentially.
Thanks for sharing on that. I mean, it's it sounds like you were in a kind of difficult situation, or at least you didn't have too many options, and you took what you could, and you did the best you could, and you changed your life situation.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do. I think maybe a lot of speedrunners are trying to do that in some way.
Mhm.
I think because you mentioned, people, they do want to be on that stage. They do want to get maybe those followers. They do want to perform well, and I think a lot of people are looking to change their life situation with GDQ, with speedrunning in general, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, Going into the future, is there any changes you would make, or maybe how would you like to see things differently, or how would you like things to be different in regards to games done quick and their events in the coming years, in just in the future in general?
I think your internet cut out for a second. I didn't hear the
Oh,
last sentence you said.
damn, my internet is just. I was saying, so in the future, in the coming years, how
Yeah.
would you like to see things change, if at all, with games done quick, or maybe even not with the event itself, but maybe the climate surrounding it, that sort of thing?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is because they have a history of this happening in the past. Hopefully, it's better now. But if it's not, I would first hope, first of all, to when they make public statements about issues or anything, to make sure they have every single all the information right, every single point correct, and they probably think a little bit more before they make public announcements or anything like that, because they have quite a bit of history now of just them making tweets about stuff that are very criticizable and that were very criticized heavily and just made them kind of look unprofessional. When it comes to the events, I mean, honestly, I think every year the event is getting more promising. The last one, AGDQ 2020, finally having AGDQ at a state more, southernly located where it's not as cold and they don't have the cold and snow and hopefully the AGD flu issue anymore because they had it in Orlando, so it was way better weather. I think a lot less people got sick this time, so that's a great improvement. Every single time they have an event now, their attendee list or size is growing by like 300 every time. They're obviously growing in that regard, so they're doing great in terms of growing. I would love to see more stuff in their event that yeah, more different stuff. Because I mean, when you go to GDQs now, they have the arcade, the practice rooms, the stream room, and the panels. The panels were pretty recent, which is a great addition. Apart from that, though, there's not much else. They have the board game room, right? That's tied into the arcade stuff. But I feel like with a GDQ size and the amount of eyes that are on GDQ, they can do so much. They can reach out to so many amazing companies and other orgs, and they have such cool stuff in their event if they really wanted to. Um, in the indie game devs, they can have a whole sector in their convention, or make it more like a convention style where they have like a whole room where they have game devs that come to show off their games. People could try out their games, that kind of stuff. They can have like private. I know they kind of do this, but it's kind of run by the runners themselves. But GDQ themselves could potentially organize like private tournaments or just showcasing runs that are part of the event, but are not on stream per se, just to get people more things to do potentially. Because I myself, for an event of 1 week long, the last few GDQs, I found myself just a lot of the days actually waking up and thinking, what do I do today? The same as yesterday, which was just hang out in my friend's bedroom or party. Because let's be real, 90% of people that go to GDQs nowadays, they're just looking to party and have a good time, right? So I think the next step that GDQ should look to do is find a reason for people to want to come for the event purpose and not for party purpose. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, I think that about sums up everything I could have asked for from you. Thanks for sharing your time and your insight. I think, definitely looked upon as like one of the most inspiring or impressive speedrunners. So it's really valuable to hear things from you. And I guess you're going to continue playing Super Mario 64 and doing 120
Yeah,
stars.
yeah, that would. Well, I like to say it would never stop, but for now, it's not gonna stop anytime soon.
Nice.
It's been pretty exciting nowadays.
All right. Well, thank you, Cheese, so much. Best of luck to you and your future runs and streams. Thank you so much.
Thanks, no problem. This was fun.